The best for last. You know, I called him Finnegan. I know Brent's older than that, but I think you're going to see one of our really good regional ag business specialists come up and give us just one more flavor before we call it a day. Again, Brent, Pettis County Ag Business Specialist. I've known Brent for a long time. I think he's going to do a really good job of getting some of this boiled down for you to think about in your own particular example. So without too much further ado, please join me in welcoming Brent Carpenter. Brent said, "Who's Finnegan? Can somebody help him?"
I don't know if I'm getting insulted again or not. Okay, same story, a little bit different way of telling it. I'm going to focus on some Pettis County numbers. Doesn't sound like it. Thank you. Here's my one slide on the farm program, okay? Crop insurance, including SDO, is paid on planted acres. Program payments, if any, are going to be paid on base acres. There's nothing in this law that guarantees anybody a payment in the future for your crops, okay? My suggestion from the farm management standpoint is you need to know what your bases are. I think in Pettis County we're probably pretty well based up, but there's going to be some farms that are not. And if it was me, I'd like to know what my bases are relative to my planted acres and make a mental adjustment about that. And that's the period that we're in right now. Checking your data, finding out where you are on the base acres and the yields by crop. ARTCO versus PLC, you can choose by crop, by farm. You can be sorghum PLC on that farm. You could be corn ARTCO on this farm. What have you, okay? ARC IC, I'm sure Mike talked about, is across all the crops on all the farms that you enroll in, okay? That's the choices before us. New in this farm bill, new again. Used to be in farm bills, was taken out, it's back again. If you want to participate in crop insurance, and I will tell you, I think that's still a very important part of your total risk management strategy. Please be aware that you have to have a conservation plan on a farm to be able to access the federal subsidies for crop insurance, okay? So if you got a new farm, check it out. Let's look at some Pettis County yields. We've got corn, we've got grain sorghum up here. 2012, you saw before today, was actually closer to 40. These are FSA adjusted yields, okay? So they bumped it up here at about 80 with that yield, that's 70% of P. So these are the actual yields that will be used in the ARTCO calculation for Pettis County for these crops, okay? For the 2014-15. If you want to see soybeans, if you want to see wheat, that's the actual yield. And we're going to work through a corn example. You've looked at a lot of price projection charts, and these all show that the factory prices are running a little ahead of the current USDA projections. Pat told you about what a big difference that can make. The reference price is right above there. For sorghum, it's $3.95. This line is still, both of these lines are right below that, okay? And there's soybeans. Here's what I really want to show you. These are some results out of the factory AFPC model using the Pettis County data. The first two bars there for corn, you've got Park County in that first column with PLC right next to it, okay? So 4 pairs of bars there. Corn in the first pair, then soybeans, and wheat, and sorghum. And the colors there are to denote two different time periods over the life of this farm bill. So the gold is the first 2 years and the black is the last 3 years. Everybody's been saying, just heard Pat say on corn, it's a toss-up between ARTCO and PLC. When we run the model for Pettis County, this is per base acre over the life of the farm bill. We're looking at corn payment, 105, 110 bucks per base acre there, okay? And whether it's ARTCO or PLC, most of that coming in the front end, okay, the first 2 years, okay? Beans, a little clearer picture, lean strong to ARTCO right now. Wheat, neck and neck, okay? If you follow their advice, you're gonna come out even on that. Sorghum, for all the reasons that we've been talking about today, where record price is relative to the price projections, sorghum payments are stronger, and particularly with PLC, okay? That's with factory prices. Watch what happens to the bar when we go to lower prices with USDA. Okay? All the bars got taller. The one that jumps off there, of course, is the one to the far right. Sorghum under PLC. With these price projections, we're talking about payments over the life of the bill close to $250 per base acre there. With lower prices, PLC leans stronger to, corn leans stronger to PLC with the lower prices. Not really a change in beans, okay? The decision, they're essentially the same, right? Let me go try this. Factory prices, which are higher than USDA. Lower prices, same decision on beans. But you might change the decision on corn and wheat. So that's how sensitive the decision is to these price paths out in front of us. I just showed you an example from Audrain County, so you kind of get the layout. Let's look at an example for ARTCO in Pettis, specific to corn, okay? So we have the last 5 years up there for the marketing year, average price, that's the effective price, and we have the yields that will be used, okay? And we're going to take the Olympic average of price, and we're going to take the Olympic average of yield, and we're going to multiply those two together, and we will have the guaranteed revenue for ARTCO for Pettis County corn. But I want you to look at those 5 numbers while they're there a little bit, okay? What's going to happen for the 2015 crop? Okay. Well, 910 drops out. What do we lose? Well, so we lose that low price and high yield. What do we think we're going to get? We think we're going to get a high yield for this year, maybe a lower price. The 81 and the 689 will still be there, and I'm going to guess that 689 will still be the high price when we get out 18 months from now, and I'm going to guess that 81 is still going to be the low yield. So I don't expect major changes in the 15 decision from the 14. Okay, we'll see what happens with this crop yield that's coming in now. Okay, so do the math. Price times yield, we get to $566. We're going to take 86% of that by law, and so the corn revenue guarantee for this marketing year is $487. Okay, so the revenue to trigger ARTCO has got to come in under that. And how will it get there? Well, USDA came out with a midpoint price of $3.50 yesterday. In order to get under 487, we would have to have a corn yield in this county less than 139 bushels. How many think we're gonna get there? Not from the yields I've been hearing. Or, look at it alternatively, let's just say we get 160, then we're talking about price having to drop down there really close to 3 to get the revenue under the 487. Okay. So you've seen this before. Just trying to drill in the important points here, so that when you leave today, you'll feel comfortable knowing what this bill is doing. Again, this is a Pettus example, similar to the one that you just saw with all grain. You've got a price range there in that first column. This is just for this year. You can see what would happen with PLC, and then you can see what would happen with ARCO at different yields. And if with really low prices and that 130 bushel yield, you're going to hit that 10% cap of the 487. Okay, so those payments will max out there at about 48 bucks. If you get into higher yields, we just said with 160 bushel, it'll take a $3.04 price, and of course it's 170. No payments with these prices. Okay, what can you do? I think there's three choices. And what can you do is ARC PLC decision, this farm bill, the commodity type. You can ignore it. That's one option. I'm not recommending this. But there will be a lot of acres around us that's exactly what will happen, because there are people that don't believe in participating in the government program for one reason or another, okay? Those bases and yields will carry forward. There will be those farms, those FSA farm units will be assigned to PLC. There will be no chance of a payment this year, okay? And that stays for the life of the bill. So if you're thinking about buying land, and you get 3 years down the road and you're buying land, what are some of the questions you should be asking? What's based on this farm? What's the yield? What program is it enrolled in? Okay? That'll give you some idea about future revenues and what kind of bid price you ought to be turning in on the land, right? Another option. Now, y'all are laughing because this is what you're planning on doing. I wasn't thinking of this option until I went to the other night and we were just talking. When I left, the farmer was saying, you know, it seems like I'll just let the coin. I don't recommend that either. What would happen to you if you did? Okay. What did Joe tell you? What did Dr. Westhoff tell you? Dr. Outline. Okay. For most of these crops, the sky is not going to fall. Okay. You saw those bar charts I just showed you. It's a toss-up between ARC, CO, and PLC based on what we know right now for some of those crops. Your farm will not go bankrupt if you just can't decide. It's not the end of the world. There's a third option, and I think it's a better one. You know, I think it's better for us to try to manage the risk, not for the risk to manage our farm. And these are the ways you can do it. Visit with us, run the model, talk to those owners and operators on farms that you're involved in. They need to be brought into this just as soon as you can get them involved. You need to get your data collected to make this decision. Don't believe you've seen this page today. That's just a snapshot. If you go to the FSA site, look for a page that looks like this, okay? I'm not giving you the URL because it's as long as my arm, and it changes, okay? Just do a search, USDA, FSA, look around for ARC PLC stuff, and it'll get you to a page And all the links to models are there, program information. This is one of many sources that you've heard about today. And finally, this is not the last meeting that happened in these parts about the farm bill. This is just one of the first, okay? These are dates and locations for meetings that I know about where Extension and FSA has already planned to bring people together and discuss this. And as time goes by, I expect the questions to get more and more detailed. You know, one of the questions last week was, what does ARC stand for? I think questions are going to get harder. Okay? Don't ask me that question now. You should know what that means. Okay? Brandon and I are looking at having as many meetings as we need to have in Pettis County, not necessarily today. I know meetings are being planned in Orangeburg, Clinton, and all these locations, and all across the state, okay? That's what I had to say, Dr. Brown. Thank you for being here today. And there's somebody, there's Brad Driscoll. Brad is the Ag Program Director here at State Fair Community College. He helped make all this happen today along with his students. Kudos to Brad, great job.
Thanks, Brent.